Okay, I'm good.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fandom Collective. And for another fan film watch today, joining me is Mary Mayhem and Andrew Warlock.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello. Wait, so we're in the Fandom Collective tonight?
Yep.
All right, I was over the wrong channel.
Wow,
Yep,
I'm nervous.
Fandom Collective feature, indeed.
All right.
I'm nervous. I'll try not to get a nervous boner.
Oh, no, you'll be good.
Wow, that's not traumatizing.
Well, as long as, nervous drinking.
Try being a 15-year-old kid and the teacher asks you to stand up and write
That's
something on the
not a
whiteboard.
thing.
Yes, it is. Oh, Andrew, that is the correct answer. We'd like to write that up on the board for us. Nope, I would not right now.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not.
That is a thing.
If there's ever a kid,
is that not a thing?
If there's ever a kid that is reluctant to stand up, especially that's a guy, that's probably why.
Yep. It's not because he's nervous. It's because he doesn't want to show it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a thing. It's a thing that happens. But anyway, today for a fan film, we're going to be watching some Harry Potter ones. Just one that we're going to do live. I'm doing that. It's actually a new thing. Usually I just upload these later. But I'm doing them live now and then going to upload them again later with some funny edits added. But even before we get into the fan films, I'm more of a moderate Harry Potter-ish person. I don't know if I'd say I'm a fan, but I do, and I did enjoy the stuff growing up. And there is some interesting story stuff that I like with it. These guys are like Harry Potter fanatics, big time. Isn't that right?
Mary has groomed me into a
Yeah.
Harry Potter fanatic.
So
I groomed him like Ezra Miller grooms 12-year-olds.
Wow, we went there.
Ooh, that's fresh. That's a fresh
Wow,
one.
that is a fresh take.
Fresh one, yeah. But how did you get into Harry Potter, Mary? Did you just like go to all the ones as a kid, like the books? Did you?
So as a kid, I was just an avid reader. Like I was addicted to the written word, and I read every book I could get my hands on.
And she muted.
I think my friend Heather, I won't say her last name because I feel like that would be a betrayal of trust, but my friend Heather, she had the books. Is I think where I read the first one. I think she let me borrow the first one, and then it was just, hooked after that. So, and actually my mom was super, super, super religious. So the first time that I read through the books, it had to be kind of hush hush. She's still super religious, but
yeah, she was like, she did not want you to read those devil books. Right?
No, it would have been a no-go initially. She had loosened up a lot more. And then as I got older, I actually introduced her to them. And she's like, these are really good. And I was like, yeah, imagine if I'd shown you a few years ago, you'd have burnt them.
No demons in this one. Nope.
Yeah.
Well, I think the important distinction for parents, I'm gonna let you finish, is at least in the case that I can relate with my own parents, specifically my mother, is that the focus is on the guiding principle that there is no greater power than love. Right. And
that is definitely the underlying
that helped
message of Harry Potter is that, in fact, that's his, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen Harry Potter, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you.
I think you can I think we've crossed over the rule of spoilers.
That's kind of like the whole Vader is Luke's father thing. At this point, if you
it's like as old as I am, so that's fine. 28-ish.
Yeah, the whole shtick is love is the greatest magic of all, and that it is indeed magical and wondrous and unfathomable, and it can guide you and protect you, and it gives you advantages in life that you never really truly realized, and that you can't really fathom the depths of how love can impact your life. And so it's actually quite a beautiful story, and there's a reason it speaks to people of all ages. While admittedly it is a children's story, certainly it's also really good for adults, fun for adults. There's a reason adults still are drawn to it. So
still out to the imagination and whatnot with that sort of thing. I would say
it's very Disney-like in that it reaches out to that kid in all of us.
Yeah.
It would have been a great Disney property if Disney weren't. I'm actually grateful it's not now because I can still.
Disney would destroy it, top to bottom.
Yeah, ever since they got Fox, they have a hold of a lot of things that they can destroy now. And
gosh, they could ruin Alien.
Yeah, they could.
What the hell?
Just wait.
They're not going to mess with Alien.
But at least there are some movies that exist that are not in their umbrella quite yet.
Yeah.
But
sure.
You guys have like houses and sorting, and you got like wand things or something, and patroners.
Patroners.
I don't.
No, that's Patron.
So what? Before I take my quiz that determines that, Mary, what is your Patronus?
My Patronus is a Thestral. I actually have one
He
of
is
the
extremely
rarest
rare one.
Patronuses that you can get, which I'm super proud of. I haven't actually logged into my. I should log in. I should log in and check all of my stuff. But yeah, I have a Thestral for a Patronus, and it's a Thestral is like an omen of death, but they're quite loyal creatures.
Isn't that
and
what the dog is?
the dog? What?
And the third one, they're like, the black dog thing is like an
No,
omen of death.
that's an Animagus.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a person who can turn into an animal at will.
Mhm.
Okay.
Thestrals
But
in
isn't
the
that a
fifth
spell
one.
that they practice? Or no, they turned cups into animal. Or no, he did that on accident.
Water
No,
god
that's transfiguration.
transfiguration.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
is what you're thinking of.
Specific.
Yeah.
Okie dokie.
But people who are adept at transfiguration can turn things from one thing to another, and so animals are quite often involved in that process. So you're not completely off.
Okie dokie. That's good. And what about yours, Andrew?
Well,
You remember your Patronus, don't you, Andrew?
I do.
What is it?
I have a rare one myself.
Oh
Like
yeah.
Is it like a cow? No, just kidding.
No. Actually, is a dragon.
Dragon. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there like a power scaling level on like, if you're
It's
the
actually
dragon-
it's got more to a degree. When Mary first really kind of lit the fire under me, as it were, for getting into Harry Potter on a far deeper level, the first thing I did was do a deep dive into lore history of very specific things. So I started with like history of various houses, the founder of the houses, history and lore of Patronuses and of the various wands, because these are the things that you're kind of first introduced to on wizardingworld.com when you kind of create your passport. And it's gonna be fun to see you do so here live.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually looking
It's a
forward to that. That really excites me. I get excited for that kind of fun stuff. But while there is a kind of a power scaling when it comes to the different types of Patronuses, it really has a lot more to do with just personality and who and how somebody is at their core, rather than just like, hey, a wolf Patronus is more powerful than a mouse Patronus. In fact, the most famous Patronus in Wizarding World history was actually a mouse.
I was waiting for you to bring that up. I was
I was
waiting
going to be
for
like,
him
if there was like a weasel versus a dragon, that would just be.
So Andrew,
It has more to do with the wizard itself, and it's
Right.
more about their personality.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Andrew brings up the mouse one all the time, but I love a more book centric explanation where Luna Lovegood's Patronus is a rabbit, and right there towards the end in the 7th book, where Harry is just about to be just swallowed whole by this mob of Dementors, Luna comes in and her little hair hops around and bullies them all back, and she's like, "We're with you, Harry," and she just gives him this big morale boost, and it's just this little bunny fucking these Dementors up. And
So it's pretty much Monty Python.
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
oh, run away.
yeah.
I mean-
The freaking rabbit of death.
Get their throats and killing them.
I didn't even think of that.
Bloodbath.
Well, she gets joined a second later by the others. Like I think the terrier of Ron Weasley's joins in, but initially it's just Luna jumping in and her little bunny rabbits hopping around and fucking up some Dementors. And so it really isn't the size of the Patronus; it's the heart of the person casting it. So
Okie dokie. Very good. Well, with that, I guess I'm gonna figure out how that works
Woo-hoo!
here.
Excited! House
So-
first.
we're
House
gonna get
first.
started. Oh wait, can we make our predictions? Can we make our
Sure.
predictions? I predict you will either be in Gryffindor or Hufflepuff. And I tend to lean more towards Hufflepuff, but I could totally see you going into Gryffindor.
You know,
Okay.
I'm actually I'm half with you, Mary. I think that Hufflepuff is a potential, but I think the other potential is actually Ravenclaw because Rookie is very analytical.
He is, and highly creative. And Ravenclaws are known for being creative. But I've also heard him rap and get feisty, and Rookie's feistier than people realize.
You're
So
not wrong.
We shall see what the end result is.
I would
I'm excited.
welcome you into Ravenclaw, Rookie. I would welcome you with open arms into Ravenclaw. So please, I'm going to pour a shot right now to prepare myself for your sorting. It's called a sorting process, okay?
Yes,
So
the
people
sorting
call it
ceremony.
placement, but this is your sorting, okay?
Mhm.
So
Okay, what are you most looking forward to learning at Hogwarts? All about magical creatures and how to befriend / care for them. Flying on a broomstick. No, it's kind of lame. Apparition and desperation, being able to materialize. Teleportation would be interesting.
it's
That is
basically
interesting.
teleportation, yeah.
Secrets about the castle. I don't really care specifically. Transfiguration. That gets messed up, man. I don't want to turn into a freaking teacup rat thing. Screw that. Hexus and Jinxes. Nah, that gets into
It's pretty
reality too
offensive.
much. Every area of magic I can. Being a jack of all trades isn't that interesting to me here. I'm gonna do the teleportation stuff. That's cool. Cats, toads, or owls?
Ah,
I
you
would
gotta
choose
pick a
which
pet.
you would take, yeah.
A pet that I would take?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got my Chica right here as a cat, but an owl would be unique as shit. I feel like as far as uses in the wizarding thing, I assume an owl would be more
An owl
ideal.
delivers the mail. The cats are quite prone to sniffing shit out. So it really depends.
What's a toad most useful for?
You know, toads get a lot of work. Like, so for example, Trevor used his toad in potions class a few times. So they're quite helpful in terms of like if you need to bring your own animal and there's something that you need to have rapport or trust for, transfiguration or during a
Mhm.
potions where there's something that may need to be a little bit more reliant on you. There can be, and you could do this, you could say the same for cats. But often people use their own pets in these classes instead of using a borrowed one. And one could argue that the relational aspect and the rapport built between the two would bolster any magical effects made.
Here's an interesting question for you, Mary. We'll piggyback on this topic here for a quick second before Rookie makes his decision. Given what you just said about the whole trust aspect with regards to bringing your pet into various classrooms to utilize during studies and things like that, why are dogs not a thing?
Okay,
I feel
so
like that'd be
what-
too generic.
What is more loyal than a dog?
I can't answer that without making a sort of fourth wall breaking kind of observation, which is really just that I think it probably boils down to cats are more commonly associated with witches. And that's why
fair.
she went with it. There's, as far as I know, there's been, now that's not to say that there isn't a magical version of dogs in the magical world. So like
All
just
dogs
like-
are magical.
Listen,
so
they have
like,
a fixation on wolves and other stuff, and or like the cursed dog, and it's like they have dogs in it quite a bit. So maybe they wanted a clearer distinction instead of having dogs being more common in their world. I would imagine, as far as like what J.K. Rowling was maybe thinking of when creating it, making a thing.
hopefully I'm not losing any internet.
No, you're still
Dogs
here.
are present.
I hear
Fang is Hagrid's dog. He's a big old mastiff, bull mastiff.
He's a big
dog.
old baby.
Oh yeah. The dog that
You know.
just drools. He's the drooler.
It's not that dogs aren't, present in Harry Potter. It's just that, cats tend to be more of a familiar type thing. So
I gotcha.
That's
But when
fair.
you're talking about the toad, it just made me think of Adam from the Power Rangers movie, where he's like, "I'm a frog." And she's like, "Oh no, it's fine. It's a good animal to have for Zord. It's cool." Yeah,
Look, nothing's as cool as having a dragon for a Zord, though a T-Rex is fairly close, and a falcon is also pretty close.
I guess I'll do a cat just because I'm more familiar with them. Ginger
Right,
cat.
you get to choose the type of cat now
There's
as well.
quite a few
I just-
types as well.
I
And-
just love that it starts with ginger cat.
And keep in mind, dogs also have like a magical form. There's so the cats have the like, I think it's called the nixes, and then the dogs have like a crup, and the crups have like two tails, and they're like a magical dog. So there's lots of like animals that have a magical counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not that there isn't a magical version of the dog; it's just not particularly approved at Hogwarts.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
What instrument most pleases your ear? Piano, drum, violin, or the trumpet? I mean, depending on the context, all of them can sound fine. Like for triumphant stuff, I think trumpet is good. For getting kind of serious, dramatic, violin's pretty good. For calming, I would say piano. I'm gonna go with the violin. Which of these
I
would?
picked the violin too, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, I feel like violin can go into like intense, but also chill, kind of a different
Not
taste
Nix,
there.
Neasel. Sorry, my brain farted. Neasel, not a Nix. Sorry.
Oh.
Correction.
Which of the following would you most hate people to call you? Ignorant. Is there fatty on here? Just kidding. Selfish.
Wow.
Ordinary. Cowardly. Ordinary, cowardly, selfish, ignorant. That's a lot of little choices there that are ones you don't really want to be called at all. Selfish, no. Cowardly. I feel like that always depends on context, especially. Ordinary, that's something everybody attempts to change. Selfish, people do like to do things for themselves, but doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. Ignorant, yeah, that'd be annoying.
No coward's soul is mine.
Mm-hmm. Ignorance. Yeah, but ignorance sometimes you're not aware of things, kind of the point. Cowardly is kind of more of the choice, I guess. So I guess I would hate to be called cowardly.
See what I mean? See what I mean?
Yeah, I see you. I see you.
You and two friends need to cross a bridge guarded by a river troll who insists on fighting one of you before he will let all of you pass. Do you volunteer to fight? Attempt to confuse the troll into... God, they have really specific answers here. Into letting all three of you pass without fighting. Suggest that all three of you should fight without telling the troll. Suggest drawing lots to decide which of you will fight. I will not do the last one. That sounds too lame. Suggest that all three of you should fight. I don't know, because if the troll has some type of sense of honor, that'd be kind of messed up to...
He's a troll. Trolls are stupid. Trolls are really stupid. If that helps you at all in the
it can't even spell honor.
But it's still like, I don't know. It'd be kind of dumb. See, in my head, I'm like, why would we need to cross a bridge? But if we're in that situation somehow, suggest that all three fight the troll. I don't know how it would go. Based on the movie, I don't know what they mean. I'm imagining a fist fight, but I guess they assume a wizard fight.
It means
you can assume with your
it means you would forego the honor, having the decency to play fair, and you would just basically you'd cheat.
Right. Yeah, I can see it's what they were going for. Yeah. It's like, it's not really fair.
But it's a troll, so who's he gonna tell?
Right, but I mean, if you have your own moral set, it doesn't matter what they believe. It's more what you believe anyway.
So that comes down to you.
Attempt to confuse the troll. Yeah, I mean, I guess based on how they're stupid, you could probably do that. Like, hey, here's a candy bar. Here you go. Isn't that what they did in the Goonies?
I've only seen it once.
I've only seen it once, and it was years ago.
Usually, I'm surrounded by Goonies fans. That's a surprise.
Today you're surrounded.
If
by
I could
Harry
fight,
Potter.
if I wasn't as much of a fatty, I'd probably fight. But yeah, I guess I'll go with confuse them.
Hey, first of all, stop that. Second of all, it's all wand work. So we're not talking about brandishing a sword. We're talking about whipping your wand around. Right?
Okay, well, still, just at the moment. Hold on, right here, we got some people joining us real quick. What's up, Second Rodeo? Thank you for joining by, even though you can't stay too long. It's all good. Sporking, what's up? Hitting the light and sharing out, going to bed. That's cool. Hope you have a good old weekend, brother.
Hi, Scott. Hello. Big waves.
Yep, we got a little Stefan in the chat. What's up, man? So to
Hey,
see good
Steven.
people on the panel, stopping by to share the link and smash the like. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm getting Harry Potter quizzed. I feel like I'm taking longer than I'm supposed to, but I'm just looking at all the stuff. Funny.
They're having fun with it. That's
Heads or
important.
tails. I feel like this isn't the biggest decision in the world, but eeny, meeny, miny, tails. Okay. All right. The sorting hat is ready to make my decision. I'm not drum roll. Here we go. And bing.
I knew it.
Gryffindor. All right.
Okay. Wow.
Hail Gryffindor.
I'm Gryffindor. So you probably know that some of Gryffindor's most renowned members include Albus and Harry. But did you know the sword of Gryffindor was made 1,000 years ago by goblins? Or that head of the house, Minerva McGonagall, hobbies include correcting articles in Transfiguration today and supporting. Okay. All
you're
right,
Gryffindor.
I'm a Griffin dude. All right. Not bad.
Yes, sir.
Excellent.
All right,
And
now.
something you should be proud of. Gryffindors. I'm going to be honest with you. I can't stand Slytherins, but
Mhm.
after Hufflepuffs, like Gryffindors are like they're the next. I get along with Hufflepuffs because I think they're usually like super sweet people and very
Hufflepuffs
like,
are pretty
accepting of
amicable
racism.
and get along with everybody.
But like I genuinely like Gryffindors insofar as like sometimes they can be a little like headstrong and sometimes they can run into shit, but you can always rely on them in a pinch.
Yeah. All right.
Word.
What's up, Sherry and Raven in the chat? What's up, guys?
Hey, Raven.
Hey, and TDS as well. Yeah.
Raven, hey, girl.
Hopping in before our Sabbath. Have a good weekend.
Raven, no. No, Raven, no. Raven is a self-proclaimed Slytherin, but she tested as a Ravenclaw.
Oh
So I
no,
will,
Cheetah. The Patronus is kind of a positive force, a projection of the very things. Hey, it's covering my thing. Okay, I guess that went away. Yeah, it's choosing to do a video format, which is not friendly for StreamYard, but so it's probably going to be glitching out a bit on the screen, I would imagine.
It's clean enough.
Discover your patrons, your Patronus. You can only discover your thingy. Okay.
You can only discover your thingy. That's obscene.
Yeah. Relax. Think of okay. Never mind. I imagine there's like sound effects going. Whoosh,
Now,
whoosh,
yeah,
whoosh.
you won't
Yeah.
have forever to choose these. You do have to
Yeah.
choose them fairly quickly.
Serve, protect, seek. I don't know the context. Oh, what?
Just pick one.
It's
Pick one.
it's really just supposed to be reactionary. Whatever
reactionary.
you connect with fastest.
Okay. If my computer shuts down at all, it's because of this, and then I'll be back quickly enough. Okay, Blade. All right, little thing.
Yeah, you got to think of it
Why
as
is-
super reactionary.
Uh-huh.
Make or improve. I like that. See, if he'd have said make, he would have been a Ravenclaw. He said improve. Uh-oh.
I might have gone for wood,
Location.
but I didn't really look at that clearly.
Go with your
Earth,
gut.
Wood and
Just-
stone.
Just flow with your gut.
A Patronus is something that connects and relates to your core.
You're close. You're getting
Oh.
close.
Oh, it's supposed to be like browsing around for an animal or something, right?
Holy crap! Raven's Patronus is
Uh,
also a Thestral, huh?
Really?
That makes 3 people I know that have a Patronus.
I
That's
didn't
a
want a
Thestral.
Thestral. I didn't want a Thestral at all, but I appreciate
You wanted an otter.
it. So bad.
An otter. Yeah. That would
Otters,
fit.
I
otters
wanted a
common.
wolf, but I won't complain.
Your Patronus is unusual. Ooh, you have an
Ooh,
unusual
okay.
Patronus. Sleek or sharp?
Sharp.
Oh
Very
shit!
rare. Oh my
It'd be-
gosh.
Gonna be like,
Ermigerd!
like a gerbil.
Serenity or
Yeah.
glory?
Glory,
Yeah.
man. Oh, for
Yeah, he's a
glory, let's go.
Ravenclaw.
Serenity's like chilling, which is fine, but
You have a
Oh,
very
my-
rare
I'm getting into
Patronus.
my 30s now, so
Let's see
They're
what
gonna
you
give
get,
this should be
man.
it. Click and drag.
See what you
Okay.
got.
Form the
Jaguar.
Patronus. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you.
Get a rare
yeah,
one.
is it,
What is it?
Just click and drag.
I don't know where to drag to. Okay.
Wait, there it is. There it is. It's coming.
Here it comes.
A rune spore.
Holy
Wow!
crap!
No, what?
Dude.
The
Think
three-headed
like a
snake
Hydra, but without wings.
It's dude,
The-
like
The
legit.
three-headed snake thing.
It's like it's like a three-headed snake, and it's legitimately like genuinely badass. That is so cool.
That is one of the rarest ones possible.
That is so cool.
Wicked, man.
All right. I wonder if it shoots out
Dude.
fire.
I've
That was
I've
fun.
never seen someone get a rune spore.
I've never met anybody else who had a Thestral. It's supposed to be like super rare.
Yeah, and I know 3
Hey,
people that
sorry,
have
man,
it.
Jack. I'm sorry,
Got
I
a
didn't
rare
mean to
Pokemon. then.
overlook
There
you.
we go.
Hi,
Yeah, you caught a rare Pokemon.
got a rare Pokemon.
Yes.
Got some rare Pokemon.
The Patronus turned. It was centering back towards Harry. Wait, it's just describing the scene. Yeah,
That's
okay. When I'm reading this, I was like, oh, it's giving information about the thing. But it's like, no. Wait, okay. Now, there's one more thing, the wand.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wand is the last thing.
I have a laurel wand, which is
A what-
honestly,
a
I
what'll?
don't. My wand's wood is made of laurel, so it's like supposed to be super strong against like evil bad influences and stuff or whatever, which I like that a lot, but you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not. I think there was something about a crash of Earth. I think was it something about lightning striking? Andrew, do you remember that?
If somebody attempts to, it's either if somebody else attempts to use your wand, or you attempt to use dark magic with it, it causes a lightning strike on the like attempted user. Something
Laurel
like
wands
that.
are sometimes called fickle, but this is unfair. Oh, of course, it freaking goes all the way down here. Laurel wands. It is said that a laurel wand cannot perform a dishonorable act, although in the quest for glory, a not uncommon goal for the best suited to these wands, I have known laurel wands to perform powerful and sometimes lethal magic. Laurel wands are sometimes called fickle, but this is unfair. The laurel wand seems unable to tolerate laziness in a possessor, and it is in such conditions that it is most easily and willingly won away. Otherwise, it will cleave happily to its first match forever, and indeed has the unusual and engaging attribute of issuing a spontaneous lightning strike if another witch or wizard attempts to steal it.
That's a nice little passive ability right there. I like that.
Okay.
Maybe that's what happened today.
Maybe somebody tried using your wand. Huh?
Maybe somebody tried to steal my wand. And that's what
That
happened.
explains everything.
That's fun. I choose to believe that. That's my headcanon from now on. What
All
happened
right,
today? in
that's your
regards
story,
to
and you're
Peter.
sticking to it.
That's what happened today. Lightning struck an
I
evildoer.
was gonna say that makes more sense after today for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay. Do you most fear fire, darkness, isolation, heights, or small spaces? Man, I guess. Eh, I guess small spaces would suck because then it's like you can't adjust yourself. Like that would suck. At least in a fire, you can roll around and stuff. Darkness, yeah. Nope. Heights, nah, not too much. Yeah, that suck to be like. If you ever saw cave divers or something, and they're like, in a very, very cramped little cave. Nah, no.
It's traumatizing to me.
Yeah, there are very few things on this planet that I don't even know if fear is the right word, but do not
It's
like.
like it's
and
like
make me
I'd rather
uncomfortable.
not be in. I'd rather not be in that situation. I don't know if I'd call it fear either.
Yeah,
To me.
small spaces I don't like. Small spaces
like-
I don't like, but it's not to the point of like claustrophobia, if that
But
makes
it
sense.
makes you
Yeah,
particularly
it's just like it's more. I don't want to get stuck. If that's
Yeah,
the case.
I don't. It's not even that really. It's I don't like not having freedom of movement.
Yeah, exactly. In a chest of magical artifacts, which would you choose? A silver dagger, an ornate mirror, glittering jewel, bound scroll, golden key, dusty bottle, black glove. I guess I'd be curious what's on the scroll, so go with the scroll.
Mm. That's a
I'd be like-
Ravenclaw attribute.
I'd be like, what is that thing?
That's a Ravenclaw attribute right there, sir.
I've got cypress wood with a phoenix core,
Ooh, rare
Ooh.
core.
10 3/4, and hard flexibility.
Phoenix
Oh.
cores are the rarest of the 3 cores that Ollivander uses.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Cool. So that's a neat one.
Yes, very.
Yes.
Would you like to hear what your wandwood means?
Sure. In
Every
just a second.
wandwood
Hold on just a
has
sec.
its own
I'm
meaning.
gonna- sec. What's up, Tommy? What's up, Tommy? Thanks for coming on by here as well. Hope you guys are enjoying our sorting here. Steven says Rookie will always be the kid in the group. Yeah, pretty much. As we all age, I'm still the youngest. That's all good. Typically. Tommy says, I can't stand Harry Potter, but the thing I regret is there wasn't enough time to take my father to Universal before he passed. Oh, man. That sucks. That sucks. Yep. Never let opportunities pass you by if you can do something about it. Agreed. And what's up? Darathon?
Derry!
What's up, Darius?
Derry! Oh, hey! Oh, that makes me happy.
What's up? All right. Go ahead, Andrew.
All right,
Yeah,
so
what-
here is the description for a cypress wood wand. Cypress wands are, and to preface this, these descriptions are taken straight off of wizardingworld.com, this same website, and they are written by J.K. Rowling as though they are written by Ollivander himself.
Yeah.
The one who makes all of these wands.
Yeah.
Cypress wands are associated with nobility. The great medieval wand maker, Geraint Ollivander, wrote that he was always honored to match a cypress wand, for he knew he was meeting a witch or wizard who would die a heroic death. Fortunately, in these less bloodthirsty times, the possessors of cypress wands are rarely called upon to lay down their lives, though doubtless many of them would do so if required. Wands of cypress find their soulmates among the brave, the bold, and the self-sacrificing.
Gryffindor
Those who-
through and through.
Yeah, those who are
Alright.
unafraid to confront the shadows in their own and others' natures.
All right.
I kind of love that. You're like a freaking flaming Gryffindor over here.
That's a full-fledged
I guess
Gryffindor
so.
if ever there was.
I guess so. Which I never guessed that based on the movies, I guess. I was always confused on how they actually sorted people in the movies, but because he's like, oh, you can just be where you want to as well, sort of. So it's like, oh,
Well, okay, so yes and no. Not that you couldn't, but it was a rare thing. Few people knew about the hat's willingness to take your choice into account, right?
Mhm.
So it wasn't something that many people accessed because not many people tested that particular. Few people conversed with it. They just took it at its word, right? Like, okay, so you say this is where I go, and that was that, right? Whereas Harry was like sort of out of the culture enough that he didn't really understand when he gets up there and kind of is talking to this thing in his head that he was doing something abnormal. Most people took the Sorting Hat at its word, and that was that. Whereas Harry just was like, no, 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 not this, because he was just traumatized and terrified about this. And so while you can talk to the Sorting Hat, it's not something that is really done very often.
Mhm.
So yeah, it uses legitimacy, which is kind of like mind reading, to sort of look into you and see. So the choosing it yourself would be to kind of make a choice to go against your instincts, which is every bit as much part of who you are as maybe those initial instincts, right? Which is, I think,
Mhm.
why the Sorting Hat takes that into account. Because if a person can choose to buck the life that's been set out before them, a person can choose to ignore that path, can choose to ignore certain parts of their parts of their personality, tendencies they
Because like
may
even
embrace.
Malfoy wasn't he like he's Slytherin, but he didn't have like the heart of like, yeah, I'm just totally
That's
evil,
not
bro. He
true.
kind
He
of
was very much a Slytherin through and through. He was very much a racist, but but they it
but I
put
mean
that on a
in the
spectrum.
battle in the end, doesn't he kind of like he doesn't
Um,
want to be, or like he didn't kill Dumbledore, he didn't like, wasn't
well,
he
he didn't
he was
have.
he was very hesitant and second guessing on a lot of
So
that
look,
stuff, right?
the the movies don't do a good job of conveying that there is a difference between being a Slytherin and being a murderer. And so they're not one and the same. Now it's true that and personally I tend to agree that given what we see laid out before us, there are not many good Slytherins, right? And by
Mm-hmm.
good, I mean the type of Slytherin that would go above and beyond for the sake of going above and beyond. The type of person who would lay down their life in a sacrificial gesture for the world around them. Slytherins tend to be self-centered, and they tend to be the type of people. And I'm not passing judgment on any Slytherins in the chat. Calm down. This is round of discussion here. Okay, relax. I'm not calling you bad people. The Slytherins tended to be very absorbed in their own world. They can be very sharp, very ambitious, and but a lot of that ambition gets placed towards themselves and their family and their tribe and who they consider to be worthy of that ambition and worthy of that effort, right? They don't step outside their tribe very often. They're very self-focused, very ambitious people. And so if you're part of their tribe, that's great. But if you don't function within that sphere, Slytherins tend to be very tribalistic and tend to not be very they don't look outward very much. And that ambition serves them well. It can serve them very well. But it's the whole reason why Snape turned his back on Voldemort, is because as far as he was concerned, Lily was more his tribe than Voldemort was. And so
Mm-hmm.
he loved Lily despite the fact that she was a mudblood, even though he called her a mudblood, even though he thought ill of it, he loved her anyway. So it's not that they're not incapable of love, and it's not that they're not incapable of because the Malfoys loved one another very, very much. Draco and his father and his mother were all of a very close, very tight-knit family.
Narcissa freaking lied to
Narcissa,
Voldemort's face
yes,
in order to protect, in order to do what she thought would be the means to the ends of protecting her son.
absolutely. They're just tribalistic. People who are Slytherins tend to be far more tribalistic than people who aren't, which means they'll put themselves on the line for you if they deem you worthy, if you're part of their tribe, part of their people. But outside of that sphere, you're not likely to get much out of them.
Well, because I think it'd be interesting to make even like a Harry, like instead of making the types of Harry Potter films they're making now with like Fantastic Beasts, like maybe if they were to take like some of them that are sorted into their like positions, I guess, and put them into situations where that kind of stuff is tested throughout the film, specifically like you know, a Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, a Gryffindor, and a Slytherin or something, and it's like, would they act within their specifically their little categories, or would one step out
Well,
for
look,
the other or
they
something? Or
absolutely can go outside of
didn't
it.
they kind of do that in like the
They already did it in the original books.
I'm trying to remember. I read the books too, but I feel like I was younger when I read them, so I don't remember as much
So I'll give you a
from
really good
them.
example, a really blatant, shining example where Malfoy had no reason. Okay, and I do mean absolutely no reason to do what he did, with the exception of that he knew deep in his soul that it was wrong. Okay. He hated Harry. He didn't get along with Harry at all. Harry was not in his tribe. Harry was not his friend. And in fact, he had been his rival for the entirety of his life up to this point. But Malfoy is 17 years old, and Harry has been drug into the Malfoy Manor. This is in the 7th book, the final book. And he's been picked up by Snatchers who think they have Harry Potter, but they can't tell because Hermione hit his face with a bee stinging jinx. And so he's all inflated and puffy and really, really engorged. And he just doesn't look quite right. But they found the glasses and they think they see the scar on his head. And so they drag him in before Malfoy and they say, is this Harry Potter? You should know. You've been at school with him for 6 years. You would know if this is Harry Potter. And Draco, standing there, staring at Harry, kind of shifts uncomfortably. And you can tell he doesn't like this. And he's like, I don't know. Maybe. And they're like, be sure. And Bellatrix jams his glasses right on his face, right? And she's sitting there like, look at him, Draco, really look at him. Tell us, is this Harry Potter? You can't be wrong though, because the Dark Lord, when you asked him, you would know. And he's like, maybe. I don't know. I can't tell. And he's literally lying right now to his aunt, to his family. Yeah. In order to not feel personally responsible for the death of Harry Potter. So it's not that they're bereft of being able to tell the difference between good and evil. They aren't inherently, Slytherins aren't inherently evil people. They just tend to be more self-motivated. They're not very sacrificial, and they tend to be very tribalistic. But that doesn't make them evil. They just
because I would assume that he has his own things he'd rather do to Harry than just, it's like this and we turn you into the Dark Lord. It's like, yeah, it's not a fitting situation, kind of.
It's a good example of like, more a result of nature or nurture rather than nature.
And his mother loved him desperately. His parents loved him. They weren't abusive to him. Oh, at least not in the. I mean, they certainly hurt him insofar as they taught him to be a racist. Yeah. Well, and they taught him to be a racist, which in its own way is a form of abuse, but they never hit him. They lavished him with love and affection, and they put their own lives on the line for him multiple times. And so Draco was not an abused, unloved kid. He was very much a loved child. It's just he grew up in a certain atmosphere, in a certain climate, and he imbibed the beliefs of his family. But when push came to shove, Draco didn't want to be a murderer, and that is at least I think it's the least the least a person can do, but that says something.
Right.
That says something. And it's not that all Gryffindors are good. Peter Pettigrew was a shithead. He turned his friends over to the Dark Lord.
I hate him more than most characters, other than maybe the one bitch that her name is escaping me.
The one bitch.
Right
Dolores Umbridge?
Fuck that Umbridge. There is no character in all of fiction that I hate more than her. That I can think of off the top
Umbridge versus Darth Vader or something.
Honestly,
Vader gets redeemed.
I hate Umbridge so much. Yeah. God, I hate that cunt. I hate her so much. Fuck, I hate her. But I'm not alone in that. So
that's funny. But I think that'll put an end to this little part of the segment with it, where we talk about the precursor to Harry Potter stuff. I got my sorted stuff there of the wand and the house and the Patroner and everything. So I apparently got a rare
shot of that
triple head snake dude.
Runespore.
Yeah, Runespore. So that's cool. But now we're going to watch a little short fan film here. This one's called The Order. This was made kind of recently. It was made this year in January 2022. It's got 10,000 views so far.
That's really recent.
Oh, that is recent. I haven't seen this one.
Made by Phoenix Works Films. And yeah, it's The Order Episode 1, Harry Potter fan film. And I saw they're close to finishing their second one. So they'll have a second one out sometime soon as well. I have no idea if this will be good or bad. So that's kind of the fun thing about the fan films, is that there are very large variety of different skill levels. So we shall see. It seems to be a small channel starting up. So you guys ready?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Jinx.
and we'll pretty much be EFAPing this, so we can pause and start here and there as it goes. Can you guys hear that? Okay, it's not doing too much noise yet, but it's kind of faint so far.
Okay, there. Now
Should be music now playing.
There we go.
I'm already judgmental of the fact that it's not using Harry Potter font.
Okay. Very critical critics here. Okay.
I'm sorry. How hard would that be?
Is the music okay so far?
It's reminiscent enough. Obviously, they can't use like the actual Harry Potter theme.
Well,
because
sometimes
yeah, they can't use Danny Elfman's theme.
Sometimes they'll spam, like with Star Wars ones I've seen. Sometimes they'll spam the Star Wars music, which gets annoying when it doesn't fit the scenes that they're in. So
right.
sometimes it depends. But here we go. Fabagulia. What? I don't like how close the text is. Some of these look like they're like the same word, like Victor. There's no space between Medea or Victor Deal Media.
Almeida?
Mida, I don't know.
Almeida?
Yeah.
Victor de Almeida?
Yeah, the text I agree could be a little
Who
different.
names the kid Eloy?
Yeah, there isn't very good spacing between some of the letters specifically.
Yeah, but you see, because you could see the space right here. Like, that's
Yeah.
written by, and that's a good one.
But then that right there in the second line may as well be all one word.
Yeah, pretty much. But the background's not horrible for Harry Potter and getting it started. But I mean, if it were me doing a fan film, though, I'd probably have the credits like this last, because a lot of people would probably click off within the first 30 seconds if they don't see stuff going on. Just
that may be the very rationale that they're using, hoping that people will want to see the actual film and they will still actually watch the credits.
Yeah.
That might very well be the rationale they're using on the universe.
It might be. The Order. That was a nice transition. Cut the music off. Lightning strike. Boom. Change the font a little.
The font looks the same to me, just bolder.
Well, yeah. I mean, it looks like there's a little more texture.
Also the coloring.
It looks like there's texture to the font now a little bit. Than
it almost has kind of like a thundercloud texturing to it.
Okay, so right now I'm gonna give you guys a heads up on what this means. The order, it could be referring to a couple of things. I assume it might be the Order of the Phoenix. If I am reading this correctly, that Razier is a Death Eater. Okay, so he's a bad guy. He's on the Voldemort side of things. So it could be that this is the original Order of the Phoenix, is what they're approaching here, because Razier was in both of the wars. So the original war when Voldemort first took over, and then he was also among the Death Eaters when they all came back. So if I'm kind of thinking this might very well be about the Order of the Phoenix, the original Order of the Phoenix, and Razier is just he's a bad guy. So this may be centering around him going up against them or something. We'll see, but we'll see if I'm right. But this is what I'm thinking here.
Okay.
What she said.
There's a way to turn it up.
Right now, it's just the music seems to be pretty low, and then it's going up as it goes further.
Okay.
Protego horribilis.
Okay.
And they also seem to be kind of whispering. But did you hear that? Okay.
Protego horribilis. Yeah, I turned my own.
Yeah,
stuff
I
up
was
a
able
little
to
bit.
hear it.
Okay. Cool. Because yeah, they seem to be whispering with it. That's okay effects on the wrist. You know.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I've seen better, but I've seen worse.
Well, they've done good on the lighting as well, because he's got it on his shirt. So that's
yeah,
not bad.
the glow on his face, kind of, and they picked like a nice smoky dim atmosphere for this.
So you're coming at this from a filmmaker. I'm coming at this from the
yeah.
Harry
Well,
Potter fan.
that's part of this whole fan film thing. It's like, I'll get people on that are super fans of something, and I am, whether or not I am, I'll give my own takes with it.
So you can give the technical aspect, and I can give the this does or doesn't work in terms of lore aspect.
Pretty much the lore, yeah.
A little boy once begged for powers to save his little soul.
That looks like James and Sirius, I think. I think that's James and Sirius.
It could be. You want me to put captions on?
No,
Or-
no, no. Oh, you can. It's up to you. Whichever
I
way.
might.
You
I might, just in case people can't hear. It's like just there.
Yeah, that's Razier. Yeah, I knew it because the other one's got to be like James and Sirius. I'm sure of it.
But none would come to beg or answer, and his pain did grow and grow. A little boy once begged for powers to save himself from him. Little Raxidian would beg and beg, till his words came hoarse and thin. A little boy no longer begged, instead longed for night to come. His father and his wicked grin would take him by the hand. Down the rickety wooden steps, the basement lay in wait.
So can you pause that for a second?
Yeah, so I was waiting for him to finish his little poem.
So I really love the way that he clearly is reciting something. I'm pretty sure he's reciting something here. This may be one of those old tales from like, so the wizarding world has its own like fairy tales, much like the normal world, the Muggle world does.
Yeah, mythological stuff. Yeah,
exactly. So we have a book called the
Tales of Beetle the Bard.
Tales of, specifically Beetle the Bard. Tales of Beetle the Bard chronicles a few of those fairy tales. So Babbity Rabbity and the Cackling Stump, things like that. And the way that they're written is not dissimilar from this, which means that whoever did this, if that's what they're doing here, if they are in fact trying to convey Razier just mindlessly repeating an old Beetle the Bard tale that maybe we're not familiar with, they did their homework and they did a good job of mimicking that type of language because it felt very reminiscent of the way that the tales of Beetle the Bard speak to you when you're reading them. So I quite like that.
I like his delivery sounding a little crazy-ish at the end with that.
The rickety wooden steps, the basement lay in wait. And in his little hand, he held a knife, long, thin, and straight. That night, he learned to play with terror, to become its needed friend. He played with blood and brains and guts, helping Muggles meet their end.
I'm wondering how long or like how many times they did this take, with him doing this one little line here and he started out more soft and now it's getting a little more, he seemed to get a little more crazy. Now it's also getting a little more sharp.
Yeah.
Now he's talking. So I like that. It's kind of, you could say it's Joker-esque, but with more control, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I'd put that.
Do you want to know what happens to blood traitors?
Yeah, that's got to be serious.
Yeah, that has to be.
We strip them of their robes, levitate them in and out of a tank full of piranhas. And when they're 6 feet deep under the water, we use the Cruciatus curse. We're looking for a friend of ours.
James, I was right.
I mean, who else could that be?
I mean,
he was
an
wearing
adult-
James's glasses.
An adult with glasses is obviously going to be his dad.
It's not that they're circular. They're circular. Just saying, there are different shapes of glasses. McGonagall wears square, so depends on who you're talking to.
And that is serious as well, as it says. Yeah, so. Yep.
It is so. And if you don't answer, we are going to levitate into a tank full of piranhas and use...
What?
Actually,
He said we're going to...
No, that seems like serious. I
Gonna
think he's
levitate you
serious.
over a vat of piranhas, and then he stopped and then slapped him.
So, yeah, that's not out of line with Sirius's. Sirius was very much the kind of guy who would just punch you as soon as talk to you. He was a man of action. It was why he wound up in Gryffindor, and he had no problems getting physical with people.
Okay. It just seemed like he cut himself off. He was like, I was gonna finish my sentence, I'll just slap you though. So
Yeah, that's not out of
Yep.
character with Sirius.
okay.
So hold on, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
You might have seen this. This is a movie example, but it's not dissimilar from the books if you read the books. Whenever he's standing there in the Order of the Phoenix and he's fighting and he shows up.
Well, I mean,
There-
in his first scenes, he just seemed impatient. So
he is an impatient
like he's
guy.
like, can we just kill him already?
He's-
and just immediately he's like,
he's
"Let's-
a
can
very
we get it
impatient
done?"
guy. But
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of the physical aspect of it. When he shows up at the Ministry of Magic in the Order of the Phoenix, where Harry and his friends have gone in beforehand and they're fighting, and then he shows up and he goes, "Get away from my godson!" and he punches the shit out of him, even though he's holding his wand. Yes, absolutely,
Oh,
Sirius
okay.
would punch somebody in the face.
Okay. There we go.
Nothing like a good right cross.
Caradoc Dearborn. Where is he?
Caradoc Dearborn.
I don't know that name.
Okay. And so they might be making a new character, perhaps, or a different character
possible.
from their lore.
It's
Which-
possible. I just don't know the name.
And they do sound British enough. So
If the name is not in our archives, it does not exist. that was Mary right now.
alternate
She-
lore.
She was the archivist in the Jedi Temple just
Oh,
now.
I'm afraid it does not exist. It does not exist.
I didn't say they don't exist. I just said I wasn't familiar with it. That's all.
I'm gonna put that in the edit. That's fine.
You gotta add that clip.
Yep, that was good.
Yes.
Where's your son, James? The Dark Lord knows all. Harry, is it? A common name given by a common muggle whore.
Ooh. All right. In the wizard world, is muggle more of an insult or whore more of an insult?
Mudblood would have been the correct term to use there, because it would have
Done more of a disdain to the
dirty
species.
blood. Yeah, dirty blood. It would have been just as potent as to say mudblood as it is to say muggle. In fact, it would have been far more insulting to say a
Yeah, it
mudblood.
sounds like
more.
muggles the description
Muggle
of the
is the
humans, and
polite
then mudblood's like, ooh no, they're the filthy scum.
Exactly. I will point this out, and I do appreciate this. This was something I was always pissed off at the movies for. Freaking James and Lily and Sirius, they were kids. They were 19 years old when all this shit goes down. 20 years old. They were young. They were very young when they died. The movies cast actors in their early 30s.
They seem like they're 30 or 40.
Yeah, they seemed like
Yeah.
they were in their mid 30s.
No,
Like,
they were
they're
kids.
settled. They seem like they're settled into their life at that point. Like
They were so young
Yeah.
in the First Order of the Phoenix, and the fact that this fan video made sure that it went about casting who are clearly young adults in these roles. I appreciate that because it means it's more, it's going to be more faithful to the books than it is to the movies. And I'm sorry, but the books are canon, so no movies without the books.
okay.
Are you ready to die?
Oh. All right, lads.
All right. What do you think of that
Good.
so far? Their appearance as well as their little entrance.
They got the masks down pretty well.
Those are good. Yeah, with an almost metal element to it.
Yeah, the thing, could you pause it real quick? When you're dealing with fan films, you do have to give a little bit of wiggle room. They don't have the
Always.
budget of a big studio,
Right.
And so you have to scale it to what you expect a small group of, maybe these are, film school students, or maybe they're just friends that, enjoy this content, enjoy this world, and also enjoy movies, and they kind of want to marry the two, You have to kind of scale that down a little bit. And for what I generally expect from a fan-made production, like the effects, like that would have taken a little bit of time for somebody that doesn't have like an extremely expensive CGI processing rig just even something as simple as like the smoke effects that they added onto these Death Eaters when they were disapparating. Like that actually says a lot about like the effort that they wanted to put into this.
Unless they got them from Production Crate, which does have a lot of copy effects from a lot of films. I've used some of them myself, or like I have some of them, but it doesn't work as well on my edit. You have to use Adobe specifically and or After Effects to like blend it properly, like how they did with that. So it is easier, sort of, but if they use something different, then yeah, that it's a more difficult process. So that's good. But yeah, looking good so far.
Looks great so far. I know we're only like halfway through, but I'm digging it.
Yep, very good.
New masks? You're ugly anyway.
Okay, they're saying they're different masks. So, and this is supposed to be in timeline wise. How
timeline?
So he mentioned Harry. So Harry's an infant.
So Harry only.
So it's.
So Harry dies Harry's family dies in October on Halloween specifically. So he's born at the end of July. So Harry is 12, August, September, October. So he's 12, 13, 14. He's 15 months old when his parents die. So this has to be somewhere within that 15-month span. We don't know exactly how old Harry is. But there's a relatively narrow window. But this still either way would have been at the height of Lord Voldemort's power.
Okay.
One? Easy. Come on then.
Cocky.
Okay.
I like that they've got them throwing their bodies into this. Something I always had a qualm with about in the movies was that there was far too much hand work and not enough body work.
More flicking, not enough.
Not enough
moving around with it.
And
not every spell should look like you're just trying to cast Wingardium Leviosa.
Well,
it's not all in the wrist.
It's well understood that what the effort that you're putting into it internally is what you're going to get. So you're going to get what you give in terms of it. So, and you still have to appropriately move the wand. You still have to abide by the rules. And if they're not using audible spells, it's perfectly acceptable for them to not hear them necessarily call them out. So I don't necessarily need to know exactly what spells they're casting here, but I do want to see visually. I want to see them throw themselves into it. So I appreciate that because there's not enough physical acting in the casting of spells in the actual movies. That always bothered me.
Yeah. So what's the rule with the spell casting though? Like as far as like audio to non-audio, like the quick round, a quick round of that.
Okay. So not all spells are audible. And not every wizard is capable of casting a nonverbal spell. I mean, if you work really hard at it, your average to slightly better than average wizard or witch can cast nonverbal spells. It's just that it requires a certain amount of focus and a certain amount of skill and a certain amount of.
Well, then maybe this might make it more specific. Like somebody can't do like an Expelliarmus spell without like that has to be audio, right?
No, absolutely no spell that I know of. As far as I know, there is no requirement in terms of any spell that requires you to say the word audibly. You do, however, have to process the word in your head. So if you were to stop yourself right now and you were to take a wand and you were to point it at, say, anything sitting on your table or your desk in front of you, and you swished and flicked it, and in your head you thought the words Wingardium Leviosa, right? You would, as long as you were skilled enough and you'd practiced enough and you'd figured out how to really transfer that thought into the process of the wand, as opposed to just saying it, but truly invoking those thoughts every bit as potently as you would with words, it would happen. It would work. But you have to learn how to make your mind invoke that thought every bit as potently as the spoken word when uttering an incantation.
Okay, that makes more sense to me in a way, because it seems like I would assume there could be a mute wizard essentially.
Like, sure.
So like that makes more sense in a way. The way they explain it in the movies, I don't remember if they do a line where they say, "Well, you don't have to say a word" or something. They make it sound like
They never
you have
truly
to-
address it.
They make it sound like you have to pronounce it clearly, otherwise you can screw up. And like when you have Diagon Alley, diagonally.
Yeah, like, if you're
Wingardium
utilizing,
Leviosa and that, it's like they keep on presenting that if you audibly fuck up, then it's gonna fuck up. Not
yeah, if you're
know.
casting a spell audibly, if you're casting it with the spoken word, and you screw up the spoken word, then yeah, you're gonna screw up the spell.
But if you're going to screw it up with your spoken word, you're just as likely to screw it up in your head, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you could still screw it up in your head, like the
Absolutely.
same thing. So the diagonally thing could happen even if he didn't say anything. Just that's what he said in his head.
You still
They
have
did
to
that,
understand what you're doing either way.
Mm.
So
Okay.
as long as you truly grasp it, you're good.
Okay, I just wanted to know that for the rest of their little battle here, so that I'm not going, "Oh, why aren't they saying anything?" So, here we go. And now that I think about it, it would be kind of silly to have every actor be, Expelliarmus, Stupefy,
It would be terrible.
and then it'd be like, okay, you're accurate, but wow, this is not fun to watch. You
Now
just
we do have some hint as to what spells they're using here in terms of what we see in the movies.
green is usually the killing one, right?
Green is the
Yeah,
Vada
it's usually
Kedavra,
the
yes.
killing first.
Whereas
Blue is
red,
usually disarm or something.
red is Expelliarmus. So Expelliarmus.
Red is Expelliarmus. I thought
Yes.
that was blue.
Nope. Red is Expelliarmus. It looks like Christmas. So if you're seeing, I always
like
thought that
Christmas.
Expelliarmus was overused anyway. And I don't know, it was really weird for Harry to do Expelliarmus. The book points that out. The books point that out over and over again. In fact, freaking Lupin goes off on Harry in the 7th book. You used Expelliarmus when you're being chased through the sky by Death Eaters? Are you mad? They know that's they know that's the spell.
That's your
you
signature move, bro.
It's your signature move. What are you doing? Why would you do that? Use a different spell, damn it. So I think they overused the red and the green. But I understand. I understand why they would stick with what people are familiar with visually with the red and the green here. So I'm not too mad at them about it.
Okay. Okay, so far the only thing I have to say is I have no idea what the progress is on this battle so far. They're just kind of
There's no progress.
hitting
Yeah.
each other back and forth. And
This is
It's just a
nothing
stalemate.
further.
the
Yeah,
longer
this
this,
is-
if this goes on for another 10 seconds, I'm gonna be
It's going to be
getting
annoying.
getting drug out here with this.
It's a-
already.
While the effects I would say are
Effects
fine
are
for a
fine.
fan film,
Yeah.
the choreography of the battle itself is lacking.
Well, look, how much can you really do with
Yeah.
let's be realistic. It was always silly to expect people to get super interested and invested in a bunch of people flicking a wand around, no matter how much physical exertion you insert into it. And so that's why I get frustrated at times, even with the movies and certainly in fan films, is like, get your point across, right? Edit it and do what you have to do to get the point across that we've got a battle going on here, and then move on. Okay.
Well, I
Because
mean,
this is gonna get old.
sometimes in a fan film, the battle is usually sometimes like their centerpiece of like why they wanted to make it, and usually
doesn't work with Harry
and
Potter.
some of them they can make it look really good. But as I'm thinking about it in the movies, the fights were what I remember the least about them.
Mhm.
They were the least eventful of the films. Like
cut that
usually-
ability to be a centerpiece for a Harry Potter film in half or less so, because we're not talking about something where you can genuinely choreograph something great.
Well-
We're talking about a wand fight.
Yeah. So what I think would have made this better, for example, is if our guys over here, Sirius and James, were trying to like get to something and they're like running away and trying to get to it, and they're trying to stop them, and therefore there's like a goal they're trying to reach, and they're going to get there, and that'll when they reach it or something, then they end the fight somehow or something. So
You
that there's-
could, but you'd still have
goal.
to edit that properly. There's really
Yeah.
only one way to make a magical fight interesting, and that is when you are dealing with bizarre, strange, rare, unique magic, such as the battle for the Ministry in Order of Phoenix, where you've got where you've got Voldemort up against Dumbledore, and they're doing these.
Yeah, he's using
insane
things like
things.
fiend fire and
Shards of
But that's-
glass are going
that was
flying,
kind
and
of why I was saying, like, if they were doing other tasks, then it's not so much a focus on all the fighting. It's it'd be a faster way to get to the end of the fight. Essentially, is how I'd see it. And I think they could put something like that together, but it depends. I don't know if this fan film, if these guys would be able to, because that's
the budget
more
may
complex
prohibit
movement. Yeah, well, we can see how this progresses. Let's see. Like this looks like an umbrella over here. Just like got my magic.
It's like the lime that was in my cocktail the other night.
Yeah.
Did you like the banter?
Okay, so with the green spell that just cut his arm.
That is nonsensical to me. I couldn't tell you what it was. I couldn't begin to. First of all, you can't really protect against. You can't protect against the Avada Kedavra. I don't know exactly what. I mean, I imagine Avada Kedavra is part of this, but they're doing way too much blocking. So canonically, Avada Kedavra isn't supposed to. You can dive out of the way, but you can't really block it.
Yeah, I don't assume it'd cause a little flesh wound.
No, if it hits you, you're dead. And
unless it's a different spell, but they're not clarifying if they're using a different spell or not. So
they haven't clarified anything, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But if they were going to go with the choice of green, they had to know what that entailed. They had to know what that implied.
Most people are going to infer that means Avada Kedavra.
Yeah. And I assume that they wanted people to recognize that they wanted it to be iconic in that way, but they should have known it would have been nitpicked a little bit by assholes like me who are going to sit there and go, yeah, but you can't really block that, and now he's just got a little slash on his arm. So why are you using green?
Yeah, it's like I could see them wanting to like have an injury on one of the guys, but you'd have to maybe they fling something at him because they're blocking and doing. You wouldn't see. I don't know. They threw a knife at him or something. I don't know. Just a rock on the ground, it clocks him in the head. I don't know. I would assume that would right because he's trying to block a magic
any
thing
number of other offensive
spells. Because it's like, isn't magic supposed to be like, you can do unexpected things?
Any number of other
utilize the environment. Utilize the environment in some way.
There's not a lot of ways to block that. Priori Incantatem is one of the few ways that you're supposed to be able, and Priori Incantatem is so rare that nobody could reliably be able to expect for that to occur. First of all, your wands would just have to happen to be brothers, and like there's just not I think Protego Diabolica might be able to.
Protego Diabolica probably is the only other thing
that can block. But
Protego. What's the other like hyper defensive version of Protego? Because Protego has a couple of variants to it. There's one because Protego Diabolica is like both defense and offense, whereas Protego has a strictly defense variation on the spell. That it's like the.
But it comes down to the power level of the wizard, is what it boils down to. Yeah. It comes down to the power level of the wizard. And 9 times out of 10, when you're up against, of course, we're talking about James and Sirius. We're getting really fucking weird here, and I apologize. We're getting like really fucking weird. Here's the fact.
This is her fault.
They shouldn't be able to block this. They shouldn't be able to block it. There's no way he should have a scratch on his arm. They shouldn't have been able to block this. If they were going to use green, they should have known what people would assume that meant. They should have gone with a different color. I understand why they did that aesthetically because it would resonate with people and that would be more visually familiar. But if you were going to go with Avada Kedavra, which is what the green spell implies, then you should not be sitting here having them able to block it every 2 seconds or just having a scratch on his arm because that's canonically speaking nonsensical.
Right. You got that, guys.
And scene.
Here we go.
Get up, Sirius, you bum! Lupin? Was that Lupin?
Couldn't tell.
Lupin and Pettigrew?
Maybe.
It's hard to say.
These look like
it's four of them. It's got to be the Marauders.
These look like goons that are like, hey, we're gonna.
We're gonna assume that these are the Marauders. That's a good call.
We're gonna assume
like the
that's
toady
Pettigrew
from the Christmas story over here.
We're gonna assume that's Pettigrew because he's short and squat, and we're gonna assume the tall one's Lupin. That's all we can do.
Yeah,
so the one in the white
pants. Shit from far away too.
I'm getting the toady from the Christmas story vibes for the short guy, and then I'm getting Lenny from Mice and Men. From this guy over here, but I don't know. Yeah, he's got a face going on
Why
there.
is he in werewolf form?
It looks
Why
like
is he
it looks like he's wearing
looking like he's
Discount.
Wolfman?
It looks like
That's
Discount ain't like from Buffy and Angel kind
That
of.
doesn't happen. That doesn't work.
That doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
This
That's
looks
not how
like
the Force works.
like a
I was
mutated
literally
vamp-
about to say that.
Huh.
This is not how the Force works. You don't get to think rationally as a werewolf. You're crazy. You will eat people.
These could be different characters.
It doesn't matter.
So-
That's not a thing. This isn't. I don't care if it's a different character who
Yeah.
happens to be a werewolf. This isn't a thing. Werewolves
Yeah.
are far more similar to wolves in general appearance when they're werewolves anyway. Even the movies got that fucked up. So, all right. Yeah, that's meant to be Peter.
It's just now I'm in battle fatigue. I'm just kind of I want this part to be done. I just want because
Yeah, they're
nothing's really
spending
happened.
far too much time on this.
Nothing's happened. I was more interested in their opening scene.
Yeah.
Like when
Why
they're
did we get
talking,
here? What's going on?
And now I'm just kind of annoyed that we're here
Yeah.
at this point.
I'm
And,
particularly annoyed at Lupin looking like a fucking werewolf right now.
Well, not even looking like a werewolf. He's looking like freaking Wolfman.
but he's looking like Wolf, the Michael J. Fox Wolf.
Yeah.
Or
Teen
something.
Wolf.
Yeah.
Pettigrew wasn't that good. What the fuck are you doing right now?
Yeah,
Fuck
that says
me!
Luke. That
Fuck
is
me!
that is
Fuck
Lupin.
me!
Oh.
Kill me right now.
Mm.
Oh, that's
Oh
bad.
my god, no!
Why? Is this-
No!
Like, is the entire point for us to just assume that it's Lupin because they
Well,
did this? Is that the only reason
Maybe
why they
maybe
did
they'll
this?
say that he drank a weird thing that effed up his transformation. You know, I don't
So
know.
the only
I think
no,
whoever
no.
decided to create this drank a weird thing when they made
There's-
this decision.
There's only one potion that makes a werewolf docile while they are changed at the full moon, and that is
Wolfsbane.
Wolfsbane. And it does not make them in full control of themselves where
Nope.
they're able to go. No, it just makes them docile.
It
That's
just
all
makes
does.
them less likely to be on
To
a murderous
murder your
rampage.
Exactly. So instead of ripping themselves apart and ripping other people apart, they just kind of chill there, until it's over. And so
They're
it's,
not like in human form and battling and
Exactly.
conscious of what they're doing.
they're no longer dangerous in
Just
the
say
way
that-
that a werewolf is normally dangerous, but they're not going to run around and go out casting spells. He's still only going to have paws. Werewolves don't have hands.
Oh,
Werewolves have paws. They look like wolves. They're just slightly bigger and they're far more aggressive. Werewolves do not
Mhm.
fucking look like people. They do not look like people in wolf cosplay. They look like fucking wolves. This is in the books. Have you read the books? I feel like you've read the books.
I imagine they could not find a werewolf costume that was cheap enough to afford
Then
because
get a
I will
fucking
say
dog.
I will say well okay maybe they could have done that but like all
Or
I know
just
is
don't-
that, is
or
that
just-
costumes. Oh, I know. Maybe they didn't need to probably have the character be a wolf at all.
Not at all.
But
yeah.
I'm just saying
we would have
if-
assumed at this
Yeah.
point that these were the Marauders.
the costumes for full body hairy ones can sometimes be like over $1,000 or something, and it depends on areas and what they can get. And I don't know. But yeah, and if that were the case, I would say to not write it in if that's the case because you
It
can-
was no need. There was no.
you can just
need.
have him be human Lupin, right, and not wolf Lupin, and
Yeah.
that would've been-
They
that would've been
didn't have to
fine.
do this at all. And if they were going to do this, they should have just used a regular dog. Because when werewolves are turned into werewolves in the books, this is canonically speaking, read the fucking books. They just look like wolves. You almost can't tell them apart. They're slightly bigger. They might have larger teeth, shorter snout, but they look like fucking
Mhm.
wolves. You wouldn't know the difference.
Okay, well,
Yeah, they're
let's
closer
see.
to Game of Thrones dire wolves than they are like freaking Wolfman.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dolores Umbridge is in the chat. Says hello, Mary dearest.
Fuck you.
And then she says LOL after your rant, I assume.
Fucking hate that cunt.
So let's see what they do though, because other than
At least the battle's over.
Yeah, thankfully, the opening scene was the best part.
I needed to be drunker than I realized. Let's go.
Okay,
You'd be better served with death.
oh, he spares the guy.
Oh, what the fuck are you wearing?
I like how the caption doesn't fill in. Fuck.
It
It's
just
what
blanks it
what the
out.
blank are you wearing? What?
What?
Why wouldn't he
Look
just
at
say,
this, then.
"What the bloody hell are you
What are we
wearing?"
going to tell him, James? Quidditch match gone wrong?
I think he'd buy it. Remember the Hufflepuff kid that went missing for a week for chasing the snitch? What was her name?
Augusta Bone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is he downstairs?
Who?
Rosia.
You captured one of the Dark Lord's followers.
I kind of almost forgot the entire point what they were doing.
Yeah.
The guys they captured a guy. I forgot about that.
The boy who
Dark
looks
Lord.
like Lupin isn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's
They
all
could
right.
have just had him like this the entire time.
That's right. They call him that. We call him.
Blithering, bumbling band of buffoons. Help, maybe?
All right, come on. You two better explain this fuck up to Dumbledore.
Really?
Lupin
Is it
would
weird
be-
that they're cursing?
It shouldn't have been Lupin. I would have accepted it from Sirius, and I would have even potentially have accepted it from James, but from Lupin, no.
Because like
Lupin was
the
pretty
way they're saying fuck, it just does not. I'm like, wait, that's not what? Because
It
usually
feels weird.
They usually replace our curse words with like their own world curse words or something.
Did you
right?
read Dunkery?
Right. which I kind of that's like a little because to me that adds a little charm to it when they're not using like like a
I always
gangsta
get
fuck,
happy.
you know.
I always get happy when I hear one of them say Merlin's pants. That's
Right.
my favorite
Or
wizard swear ever.
It's just like in if you guys ever saw the show Spartacus, they'd be like Jupiter's cock, and they'd like instead of oh my god or something or Jesus Christ, they'd say something else that's funny.
Have you ever seen Potter Puppet Pals?
Yes,
You have
yes.
the Wizard Swears episode. Have you seen that?
Not that one. I just remember the like where we're Harry Potter. Then
We'll have to
whatever.
watch that at some point.
One of those thingies.
You'll see what I mean. For those in the chat later after the show, go look up Wizard Swears. Okay, you'll know what I'm talking about. Your mother is a
Okay.
Ella lips alone and a bucket of boop. It's hilarious. It's so fucking funny. Like seriously, go look that up later.
Okay.
Smudra.
All right. Oh, that's it.
I guess so. Really?
Wow, so like 3 minutes of this are credits?
4. Well, yeah, no, 3.
Hold
You're
on,
right. Holy
they're-
Wait,
crap.
hold on. What?
Okay, here we
Oh,
go.
so then it moves to something else.
Follow me. Young serious.
This is young serious, so I assume they're younger now. Yeah.
Well, show us then.
Whoa! This is scary. To a wimp.
I feel like the filmmakers of this had their little brothers around, and they wanted to be in it too or something.
Yeah.
They were like, I don't know.
I don't know why the eyes are supposed to be doing that. What is the point?
I don't feel like finding out, but I guess. I guess.
But I thought werewolves were, wolves.
This isn't my werewolf form. That I cannot control. This is me practicing to become an animagus.
Oh, they're explaining why he
Never
didn't look
becomes
like
an
the werewolf.
animagus. That's not how becoming an animagus. First of all, it's animagus, not animagus. Okay, stop fucking talking like the movie. That's not how they say it. Second,
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Lupin never
Breathe.
becomes an animagus, and even if he did, that's not how you become an animagus. It doesn't happen in like a section by section thing. You have to do like a month's worth of fucking spell work, and when you finally get done with the month's worth of fucking spell work, you don't get any say in what you fucking turn into. It just fucking happens. So you can be a fish flopping around on the ground. There's no fucking part way through it. There's no glowing eyes or half a talon. There's no fucking eyes sprouted one wing, and my left arm is a flipper. That's not how this shit works. You either turn into the animal or you fucking don't. Fucking hell. Sorry.
The only for sure thing, and I use for sure kind of liberally here, when it comes to Animagi is
Animagi! Fuck! Shit!
is that it is very frequently associated with what your Patronus is.
Not necessarily. I've heard that they can coincide, but they more often don't.
Right.
Your inner animal is not, what you would necessarily think it would be. It's not necessarily what you want to be. Your inner animal is frequently it's just you don't fucking know. You have no fucking clue until it happens, right? And then once you sort of come to terms with it after it happens, more often than not. So it can coincide. It's not that it never coincides, but it's not like sitting there thinking that you shouldn't sit there and think that your Patronus is an indicator. And a lot of wizards, qualified witches and wizards, never even cast a corporeal Patronus, which is like a Patronus with an actual animal form. Lots of people, even if they can actually manage to cast a Patronus, most of the time it's just going to be a wisp. It's not going to be a full corporeal. Whereas if you could do a corporeal, then you've got like the full-fledged animal form. Most people can't do that, even fully qualified wizards. That's why it was so impressive that Harry could do it. Like he literally, Susan Bones,
And then taught a bunch of other kids to do it.
and then taught a bunch of other kids to do it. It was really super impressive. Although Hermione had a really fucking hard time with it. But no, it's not. I mean, I see what you're saying, sweetie, and it's not that there's no indication possible there, but it's not like your Patronus is going to tell you if and Animagi are super rare too. There's not enough cases to compare and contrast either. There are like 7 Animagi even around that were registered when Harry was a kid. So like, I mean, there are a few that
on me.
There were a few that weren't registered, like freaking old Rita Skeeter. She was unregistered. She was a beetle. But like those are super rare. There's only like 7 around when Harry was a kid. Animagus are super rare. And that was why it was so fucking cool that his dad and all 4 of them were Animagus. So I don't know why they're sitting there acting like whatever. Anyway, my bad.
Well, that's all right. They've got 500. They've got 500 subscribers, and they say the Order is a Harry Potter prequel web series following the last few days in the life of James and Lily Potter. Episode 1 is an introductory episode to this fan-made series featuring James and Sirius after capturing a Death Eater, and they did a little crowdfunding thingy for it.
I appreciate fan-made films, and there are several that I would recommend to people right now, and even with things that don't necessarily work canonically speaking, but I still am like, hey, it's still worth a check out. Like the Marauders, that one is doesn't necessarily work canonically, but I appreciate a lot of the effort put into it. But this one was mostly a really shitty fight scene and some really bad lore breaking stuff that is in this. So if you're going to make a fan made movie, I suggest you actually read the content before you do so.
Well, sometimes some of them, it really depends. I've seen a whole bunch of them up to this point, even though not all of them are posted yet. I watched like over 34 with people of Power Rangers, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Mortal Kombat, Halo, just a bunch of different ones. And it's like some of them go more into the lore aspects and try to bring a lot of those to life. Some take a concept like from Star Wars and try to apply it to whatever story they're trying to make with new characters. I mean, there's a big variety of different approaches with a fan film, essentially, with some of these. But yeah, having closer stuff being accurate at least, and then have your characters, I think would probably be more pleasing to everybody watching.
Yeah, I think you're gonna piss some people off if you're not careful. When you're making a film. Well, look, I don't feel like I'm one of those unreasonable people who, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, this is basic stuff that just a basic book reader should and would know. And so for them to sit there and behave as though it's completely normal first of all, Lupin wasn't an animagus. He was a werewolf. So, what are you talking about?
So let's do this. So
the thing is, the whole thing was that Peter, James, and Sirius chose to become Animagi in order to kind of stay around and comfort their friend when he was in werewolf form. So he wasn't constantly alone when he was locked up in the Shrieking Shack.
That
was the whole reason why they chose to do that.
And he said, what he had said was, because this was something never tested before. Okay, so they traveled into the realms of hitherto unexplored magical areas. The Marauders did in a lot of ways. They were very gifted students, and hanging around with a werewolf was highly dangerous, very dangerous, right? But keep in mind, he was a wolf. He was a big dog. Okay, he was a big wolf. That's all it was. And so
big puppy.
When they transform, and werewolves only attack humans. They don't attack other animals. In lieu of a human to bite and scratch, they will bite and scratch themselves. And so when they turned into Animagus in their 5th year was when they did it. And they proceeded to spend time with him in their animal form because they were safe from being turned into werewolves, because werewolves don't attack other animals, just people, they kept him more sane. They kept him, he was less wolf-like, is how he described it. And he felt a bit more human when his friends were with him. And it was a truly magical thing to discover, that a werewolf could in fact be made less dangerous by the presence of friends and by the presence of love and affection. And again, another testament to the power of love and what love can do to break down bad magic and to sort of diminish the adverse effects, right? I would be interested to see an article from J.K. Rowling going in depth about what that meant, because we really only have a few hints about what that means. So we can infer some things when she says, when Lupin sits there and talks about, I became less wolf-like with my friends around. I was less dangerous, even though there were some near misses and we were reckless. I became less dangerous. We can infer from that the presence of love, which is a theme that is sprinkled all throughout the Harry Potter books, that has a great deal to do with that, because love, the magic of love is so potent in the Harry Potter universe, right? But I would really be interested to see that. But no other presence that we know diminishes the vicious nature of a werewolf. None that we know of. Only the presence of friends can make them just a bit less rabid. So,
okay.
Sorry.
I did not know that. Okay.
Wasn't an anime, just it wasn't an anime.
Well, okay. With that aside, Andrew, what would you give your summary thoughts on the fan film?
You see, it actually started out kind of strong, because there was kind of there was an interesting hook to it in the beginning. In that first, it was like 3 minutes where they have the Death Eater monologuing there, and as Mary noted, it felt very much like he was reciting kind of a lost tale, fairy tale of Beetle the Bard or something like that.
Super cool.
And yeah, that was really interesting. And then it went into the battle, and it was no longer interesting, because there wasn't meat to it, and it kind of just felt like, hey, we don't know what to do in the next scene, so let's just have them fight. And so the only real story bits are in those first 3 minutes, and the rest of it is the fight.
Yeah.
And then also wrapped up in that fight is where you get all the lore breaking things. Like, okay, well, we're one of two things is going to be the case here. So they either used green for the Death Eater's spell effects because they knew that green would be associated more easily by those familiar with the films as being a spell that's used by bad guys, right? But at the same time, it could also be reasonably surmised that that's supposed to be Avada Kedavra. And there's no reason to not think that. There's no reason to not think that. And so it's an issue if they're just blocking Avada Kedavra like it's nothing, like it's just another spell, and they're in dueling class, right? And then even more so when Sirius gets struck, and it's like, well, why isn't he dead? Okay, that's cool.
Nice.
I dig. That's really good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go on.
I got distracted. That looks really cool. Thank you. But yeah, I wish there was more story to it and less battle. That battle could have been cut down by a half, if not more, and left more screen time. I realize this is only the first episode in this series that they're doing, but there's just not enough story.
They could have been like, gone out, pokey poke a little bit, go back inside, do something to, the Death Eaters are trying to get in to get the guy, and they've got to figure out something, they get the information out of him before they get in or something, maybe.
Or at the very least, just make that battle. That battle should have been cut by half, if not two-thirds. If not two-thirds. And then you can still have some of the same events happen. They just can happen much more quickly.
Because otherwise,
there was a lot of useless back and forth nonsense.
Yeah, it looked nice.
I'll credit them. The effects look good for a fan.
It's the equivalent of having swords and going hua, 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 hua,
over and over and over and over. It just
like,
it's not entertaining. It's not entertaining. And so cut that battle by like 2/3, and then you still have the same major moments, I say that liberally, in that battle happen. Okay, Sirius gets hurt. Fine. Remus and Peter show up to help James finish off the Death Leaders, or at least send them packing. Fine, you can do that. But then have the four of them go back inside and then continue the actual story.
Yeah.
Instead of that duel, if you want to really call it that, instead of that lasting 5 minutes, have it last 1.
Well, you have
If
to know
that.
what your strengths and weaknesses are in this kind of Harry Potter's strength has always been the storytelling. It has always boiled down to the interesting world building that you can do, and expanding on those characters would have been welcomed and appreciated and loved. And I could have totally gotten into that. But that's not what they did. They didn't expand on these characters. They took bits of information, used it out of context, and focused on one of the least strong aspects of Harry Potter, which is the dueling parts. That Harry Potter has never been about the action. It's never been about the action. There are only a few ways that you can make the action look cool, and that's if you have a shit ton of money to spend on special effects for these really cool spells. Like when shards of glass come flying at you and you turn them into sand, and it comes flying down, and then they get swirled around and sent back, and then they get turned into birds. That's cool as fuck. You don't have that kind of money. Figure some other shit out.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got the kind of budget that that freaking allows for, Fiend Fire and Protego Diabolica and, the Firestorm spell, things like that. If you can do that, more power to you, by all means. But otherwise,
so
keep it to a minimum.
Considering they're making this like a web series, so there's going to be more episodes. I assume
They need strong writers.
Probably 6 or so. Well, what I'm worried with is that in each episode, they're probably going to have at least one fight scene. So half of them will be talking and character, and then the other half will be fighting. I just imagine because of the modern day we're in, like with Marvel stuff, where in Star Wars, where if there's 7 minutes without a fight, they have to have one. And it's like, you don't really need that in most situations, or you can have the illusion of a fight, like, oh, there's a fight, but that's going on outside and we're in here. We're focusing in here, or something. Yeah. You can, maybe cut out there once or twice for a minute, or, less than a minute or so to show something, but you don't need to focus out there on battles. That's why I was saying, like, if they were to go inside the house, the Death Eaters are trying to get in, they're trying to get information from the guy still, and then the reinforcements come to help them out. Something like that for this first episode might have been a better pace if they needed to have a battle of some kind, but you don't need to show that much of a battle either, but still get the point across.
It's never been the strength of Harry Potter. Never. It's never been the strength of Harry Potter. And I agree. You don't need a battle every 2 seconds. If your writing is strong enough, and isn't that the point of fan fiction? Isn't that the point of fan films? Is that you're delving into this lore, you're expanding on it, you're putting your own twist on it. I would think
if you guys want to, they have a behind the scenes video that's 4 minutes long.
Sure.
Only that.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see what their thoughts are.
We might have answers to our questions on their motivation and stuff, and their filming with it. So let's see. Go for it.
He looks like a decent James.
And for all we know, the behind the scenes might just show how they did a lot of their scenes, but we might get their commentary too.
If they just sit here for 4 minutes and show us how they flick their wands.
Then that's kind of a waste.
I'm gonna kind of skim through here. Okay, I don't think they say much throughout. They're just okay. I can barely hear them. Okay, now we're getting like the audio from the streets and the wind and everything on this. I can barely hear them. I'm hoping I get their commentary.
At least from what I've seen, so also always just got this sort of slightly brooding.
I'm just not believing that.
Well, they had a lot of people working on it, more than I thought. On the set itself.
Oh, sorry.
Unfortunately, what I've noticed in a lot of fan film behind the scenes, they don't really talk about the motivation behind it. They usually just kind of show the stuff, but sometimes they get a little bit with the person.
Okay, quiet on set. So,
Slate full, take 3. Okay, so I just need. Right.
See, I bought those two as James and Sirius. What the fuck was that even about? Why would you make him half wolf? Fuck, that's annoying. Fuck.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we'll actually get any explanations for anything in this video. Okay, never mind. False alarm.
Ugh.
It's just showing their effect.
I really hoped they would too, man. I really hoped that they would. But I guess if you're starting from a visual, like if your first thing, and I think you could probably attest to this because you're more the technical guy, right,
Yeah.
Ricky? If you're starting from a visual, if you're starting from going forward looking for something as a visual,
Yeah.
you're coming from the wrong place. Your story has to be on lock first before you worry about any of the rest of it.
Well, it's like you can have an idea that you want to execute, and if you know that you can get there, the point is like, okay, if you're going to make a story to get to that point, then yeah, the story has to be good. The story could even be inspired from that one like scene you're imagining in your head that's going to look cool, but you got to walk it back and make the rest of it more interesting. Like in the show Spartacus, like a lot of their motivation was they wanted to have a presentation of a lot of cool fights, and then they thought of the story and historical aspect, which characters focus on, and work backwards from there, and they made that work really well, essentially. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's still the story and has to run you through to make those special effect points meaningful.
Yeah.
Essentially,
If it doesn't have a purpose-
otherwise it's surface level emptiness, kind of.
Yeah. If there's no purpose, it's completely pointless. And no one, like I literally just want to play. Who gives a shit on loop, right? Like, just no, it's not fucking worth it, and it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. I lost interest in what was going on.
Yeah, I forgot what was going on when their battle was done. I'm like, what are they doing that for?
Yeah. Why? Oh, they're coming to get Razier. Okay, I forgot. I forgot he was even tied up.
Yeah.
And actually, I was pretty pleased with Razier being kind of a fucking lunatic, right? Because honestly, Razier would be unhinged. He would absolutely be unhinged. But that's not.
And they gave some character stuff as well as the story stuff in that first scene. Like, telling us in the way the setting without being too obvious. He's like, you're James, right? Oh, where's your kid, huh? And whatever.
I was
like, okay,
immediately.
So it was like, okay, giving us an idea on the time. Sirius's reactions when he called her a whore. He's to fucking go in and beat the shit out of him. It's like, okay. Those were good little moments out of this. So
yeah, these great character moments. Character moments are what build the story for you, or what suck people in. It's just overall, it felt like a fucking waste.
So hopefully their next episodes improve more on focusing on the story stuff and not trying to get just the action bits down, because it seems like the wrong focus for their genre here. And honestly, again, watching people fling spells at each other for more than a minute gets really boring.
Really boring.
Again, unless you have the budget to do some,
it's like even then, it really depends on if they have a bigger budget, then I'd want to see more creativity in what they're doing, because I would imagine I'm going to turn this branch into a thing that wraps around you. I'm gonna we'll uproot this tree and sharpen its thing and throw that at you like a, I don't know, and you got to be able to react and what am I gonna do? Okay, what can I do? And something that keeps the pace up.
Yeah,
with creativity.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that there's no fan film of any genre anywhere that wouldn't work with a focus on the action aspects of it. But Harry Potter's not the world you want to do that with.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat is more where you do that, I would
right?
Say. Because the story's second in that. It's usually the fighting.
Yeah, you've got to really understand the realm you're working in, and if you don't understand that, you have no business doing this in the first place. Just none.
Umbridge says, my motivation in my prequel movie is Dolores' rise to power and dealing with extreme masculinity in Hogwarts.
I want to slap something.
I'm gonna shove an extremely masculine boot up your ass.
I think with that, that'll end this fan film watch. I appreciate you guys coming on out here for this live one. All of this re-uploaded and edited in a couple months or so here, maybe by August at the earliest. Thank you, Angelus, for popping by. Thank you, Dolores Umbridge, Mayor McCheese, Tommy, Steven, Timmy, Tim popped by, Dorothian, or whatever. Dorothian, Writing Raven, Sherry, Storyman Jack, what's up, buddy? Thank you. And thank you, Andrew and Mary, for being the Harry Potter lore nerds on this one.
I appreciate you having me.
Anytime, man. Any freaking time for Harry Potter. I love it.
I'm always down to talk Potter.
Well, if we still have time tonight, we're going to record another one and have that ready for later. So, as far as everybody else knows, though, that is the end of